Hello, this is an Ibach grand piano made in 1910, 180 centimeters long, and it's just come into stock, so this video is to assess what kind of work we need to do. Now, one thing I look at when I'm choosing a piano is how much wear there is on the pedals, because you can see those two are very similar colour, and that means that the right hand pedal hasn't been excessively used, which is a sign of a lot of wear. It's been slightly, if you get closer you can see slightly more use. It's not bent down more than the other one though. Both pedals, by the way, are very close to the floor like Bechstein's, which is a very good sign because it means you can raise up the caster cups if you're very tall, give yourself more leg room. Now it has got replacement key tops, but they look very much like ivory. They're very nicely done, very tasteful, not off-white colour, and with a slight grainy look to them. Ibach, very respected, very tasteful manufacturers. This age of Ibach grand, as I say, particularly is one I'm looking for. From this age up to about 1930, they made some wonderful baby grand pianos in their 20s and 30s. It's this very grainy music stand felt here. That's something we'll be changing. That's very tasteful rosewood veneer throughout, typical of Ibach really. They're very good cosmetically as well as musically. On the top here though we can see that the lid has been folded back, normal position for the lid. Most people have the lid like this all the time, so you wouldn't know until you lifted it up and realised that you've got a fade line, which you can see very clearly here. The top needs, I think, probably we could repolish the whole piano, but this, if we rubbed it down, made it good, it's going to match in much better, and match better with the rest of the piano too. Here's the other side, very similar colour, so uniform colour throughout, except for where the lid's been folded back. And see it more clearly from this angle. As we've mentioned in many other videos, probably the most important thing is the tuning pins tight. They're rock solid on this one, which is very good news. Ibach rest pants are excellent. They're such a well-made piano, and the bass section too, very, very tight. And small pins, as you can see, my lever's fitting on them and wobbling slightly. They're original size pins, so original pins, original strings, which is good because there's such a fruity bass on the Ibach. We'll just play it and you can listen to it. See, that's C. We'll start with A. A very warm, strong bass. As we go through, you can see a very even tone. Tenor strings, excellent too. Let's see what the breakpoint's like. Not quite so perfect, but I think it needs voicing on the hammer there. That's the main thing. So running up, lush, as you'd expect from a top quality German manufacturer. Similar to Richard Lipp and very other firms that make very rich sounding pianos. Internally in very good condition. We'll clean this obviously, and but generally the frame isn't damaged at all, so that's good news. Little blemishes here and there, but nothing really that stands out. So rather than be a piano that we fully restore, I think this piano is in very good condition, not having been used too much. The soundboard is perfect as well. There's no splits on it whatsoever. Here's the underside of the soundboard, cobwebs, but no splits on the soundboard at all. Very, very good condition. Has lost its pedal stay here. This is a rod that goes from here up to here, and it obviously stops the pedals moving around when you're pressing down on them. There's a pedal stay on a Bösendorfer. That's a metal pedal stay. I think the Ibach had a wooden one. Ibach pianos are strung individually, by the way, believed to give it more stability, although a lot of top manufacturers didn't do that, including Steinway. This is the Bösendorfer again, strung individually. I'll show you what I mean by that. See, on this lip grand piano, each string goes down and back up, so two out of the three strings on each note share the same pin, which is better if you get a breakage. You can use the same string again by winding it down on one pin and back up on the other. So here's a fully restored Steinway, and again the pin is shared by the same string. So the main advantage being, as I say, if you break a string, you can go back down and up. We very rarely break strings on top quality grands anyway. Now the bass strings on this Steinway are individually strung, as you can see, which is normal obviously. Now looking at the action, the hammers have been replaced probably at the same time as when the key tops were replaced. You can see that these ones are higher. I've regulated those up to where they should be. They were quite far down. We'll have a look in a minute as to what effect that has on the touch. While we've still got the piano open, let's have a look at the rest of the hammers. They have been used since then, a reasonable amount. I've refaced a couple up here just to see what kind of tone we've got, and they do reface well, so that's something we'll do. And I found this half p piece, a new penny piece inside the piano. So perhaps that the key tops were redone and the hammers were redone before 1971, which is when the date of this on the back. Now the hinges are tight here, and none of them are too tight, and none of them are too loose. So that's very encouraging. The rollers, you've seen before in other videos that we often change the rollers. They would improve slightly with changing, not significantly. I think it's something we would do if we replace hammers, shanks, and rollers, obviously all together. Now the main regulation was to do the hammer height first of all, which should be set at about 1 7/8 inches. That's 47 millimeters, and that it varies slightly from piano to piano. And now we can get the set off the hammer to get very close to the string as well. If we look at one that's not been regulated, you can see that it doesn't get so close to the string. Let's have a look at the two together, and let's press them both together. So the hammer, the one we've done, the one we haven't done, and you can see the left hand one. They both come off at the same time actually, because for the left hand one, that means it's coming off far further away from the string, probably about 1/4 of an inch or a bit more than that, whereas this one's coming off about 1/8 of an inch, which is we're going to get them as close as we can really, but within the margin of safety. So that's really important. So the two regulation jobs there, the most important ones really, are the hammer height, which is this here. Now Ibach's gone a different way from other manufacturers, and this is a tied action like a Bechstein, but Bechstein have a rocker system here, which is not very convenient for technicians. This is very much more convenient. This is a bit like a normal capstan system, and you turn this, interesting enough, the opposite direction for what you'd normally do. I found that out by doing it wrong. First of all, you turn it to the left, and as I turn it, so the hammer will go up, and that's got to be done for all the hammers. And the other thing is this set-off here, which is standard, normal set-off, and that needs to be turned to the right to get it to set off later. But we had to raise the hammer height before we could do the set-offs. Of course, there's other regulation to do, like the key dip, which was fine actually. It was about 11, which is what I liked, 11 millimeters. And last job is this, which not to do with my nails. It just happens that I got guitarist nails on the right hand there, or try to be a guitarist. And this gets turned with a screwdriver to get it to the drop screw close. So I'll show you that in a second. And of course the dampers, but I'm not going to go through everything in one video. If you watch the videos in general, you'll see I'm trying to cover different aspects of piano restoration in different videos. Now the drop screw regulates how close the hammer is at the string after all the action work's been done. So it rests as close as you can get again, 1/8 of an inch, perhaps just slightly more. But here's one that hasn't been done. You see how much further away that is. I don't know if you can catch it on the video very well. Again, that's at least 1/2 an inch away. Sorry, more than that. It's yeah, about 1/2 an inch away. So it's really important. If you try to play the piano very quietly, these are the ones that have been regulated, and these are the ones that haven't been regulated. And that's playing at the same pressure, and it's very out of control. More noise as well, because the hammer's dropping onto the hammer rail, the rest rail. So those ones are the ones we can play really softly and very controlled action, and then these ones just can't control it properly. So it's really important to get the regulation right on the grand piano. So that's assessment of a grand piano that's just coming to stock, one we deliberately brought in because the make Ibach is such a good make of piano, and this age of Ibach grand, there's many things that we'll be doing to it. Regulating is the most important thing. The control on the notes I was showing earlier, there's really good control now on these two, which we've regulated. But on all the rest of the action, you can feel it straight away for a pianist that needs to be regulated to gain control. But the tone is superb throughout the range, is very warm, typical. I would much rather have a very good quality German piano in my home than a modern piano. I mean, a quality German piano from this era. Ibach particularly, this is the best era for them. I haven't tuned it yet, by the way. It's very slightly flat. whereas in the tenor, treble, higher treble, it just sings. Thank you very much for listening. So that's an Ibach grand piano, 180 centimeters long, just come into stock. So I made this video to try and assess it for our own sakes, mainly so that we can see what needs doing. But we place this video on, we may get the finished video put on as well. But I've tried to show some of the aspects that will improve the piano, especially the regulation. Obviously it needs cleaning generally and improving cosmetically too. But what we're really interested in is a really good piano. I would much rather have a high quality German piano of this era, 1911, in my house than I would a modern piano. It just, for me, the tone is so much more lush, and if the action is well regulated, it plays just as well, if not better in some cases. Thank you very much for listening.